this is a matchup I see in half of the games that I played at my tournaments. Gabe versus NBN making news. Alright, I mulligan into this hand, which is horrible, extremely bad. 2 NAPD contracts, both of which I don't want to score. And since they're in HQ, it's not good either, because Gabe gets money for running HQ. So he'll have more than enough money to steal my NAPDs. So it's looking very bad. And I'm off to a rough start because he snipes the BU from R&D. There's nothing much I could do. My mulligan hand only contained one ice, and it was a measly pop-up window. So I couldn't stop him. I was debating not raising the pop-up window. I didn't want, because once I res it, I'm going to be victim to a count siphon. But I decided that, well, might as well text him because he's going to get through anyway. He's going to score the NAPD anyway, and sure he does. So he's on 4 points, I'm on null, and I cannot pull a mid-season south because I don't have one. And I don't even have enough credits to anyway. So I continue building up my servers. Thankfully, I draw into 2 Dracos. Those were the saving graces of this game. Yes, it definitely kept me in the game. Otherwise, I would have lost on turn 2 or turn 3. Having those 2 Dracos, being able to res them both during my turn when needed is so huge. Imagine if that was an Eli. I put the Eli on R&D and I res it. Now I have no credits and I cannot stop him from running through HQ. But I still don't stop him this time because I have to hedge my bets. If I res the Draco, he will see it and he will know how to counter it by bringing out his Mimic or Ninja or whatever it is. And thankfully, I drew that Draco in time because a private security force was lying right on top of R&D. He would have stolen it otherwise. So yes, the game would have ended on turn 2 if I didn't draw those 2 Dracos. So those definitely saved me there. And having the NBN recurring credits to force Draco to end the run and tag the runner really helps. Speaking of which, he didn't clear the tag. That was the right play by him because he had few credits to be close. I mean, he had too few credits for close accounts to be of any use, and he has no resources. And I didn't have enough credits to scotch him, so he's fine for now. But he should be clearing tag soon. He hasn't seen my influence suite yet, except for the mental health clinic. Although I guess that tips off the fact that I'm not running Scotch Turf. Alright, so I res the clinic, and you notice that my pet campaigns are starting to do a lot of work. There's nothing he can do about it. I've played Gabe before and I know asset economy is very annoying, and as Gabe, if you don't have a bank job, you really don't want to run those remote servers. And if he cannot get an account siphon off, which he can't because I'm always keeping an unrest ice on HQ, he's going to report. Alright, so he runs through HQ, I have to let him in again. I cannot let him see what that second piece of ice is. And as a result, he steals my PSF, which is a huge bummer. I would much rather have him steal my NAPD instead, because that would tax him from 4. But the good news is, I have a mid-seasons in hand. So I'm thinking whether I should use it now, or get some credits before using it, and how much I should trace him for. I figured that since he was keeping the tag from the Draco earlier, he's going to go tag me anyway. So there's no point in wasting any of my credits to boost the mid-season trace. So I just used the NBN recurring credits to boost it to 8, and sure enough, he collects the 8 tags. Yep, so that was definitely a nice play by me because had I invested all my money into it, I would be broke and I wouldn't be able to defend HQ, and he will run into it and steal my last agenda anyway. So with 3 credits left, I'm able to res both the wraparound and the Draco on HQ, so I can solidly prevent him from scoring the last agenda that he needs to score. Gabe really wants to run through HQ, so I'm trying to keep him from doing that. One thing I didn't do this game, which was definitely a flaw, was to protect against sneak door beta. This you might see later. Is a very, very bad idea against Gabe. I completely forgot. It's been a long time since I played my Gabe deck, and I completely forgot about the existence of that card. But what I should have done here in this case was to put the wraparound, at least put it on archives to deter him from running there in the first place. Alright, so I draw into more useless cards. Money's not a concern anymore because I know he's not going to trash my drip economy. So my only concern now is drawing cards. I want to draw that Psychographics so that I can overscore a build or fast advance and Astroscript, both of which are very helpful for my cause. The number of psychographics are limited, so I should only use them on those two agendas, or private security force, but he really stole the single PSF from my deck, so that's PSF lock is out of the option. He plays a very interesting card, Clone Chip. That makes me wonder what kind of other breakers he's running. Overmind maybe? I have no idea. But we'll see. For now, he tries to get into HQ, and I cannot let him in, he's on match point. So I rest the wraparound, bringing him down to 0 credits. This is just to tax him. As a very poor Gabe, he's completely useless if he cannot get into HQ, because that means he has no economy at all. And I secure the Draco. Now I really don't want to res this Draco, but that's the only way of keeping him out. Otherwise he could get through the pop-up window for free with York. So I had to res it to stop him from running in. And in doing so, I need to put a number of power counters on Draco. That's another reason why I don't want to res Draco. I want to keep Draco on until I see his Sentry breaker of choice. Then I can adjust my Draco play accordingly. But now that I'm forced to res the Draco blind, I advanced it 4 times. And I finally protect archives. Not because of single beta. At that point, when I was playing, I was more worried about Data Sucker, because I see an End-Up Breaker suite. Of course, he has to be running Data Sucker to make the End-Up Breaker suite work. Another good play I made this game was to not trash Jackson. I knew that archives was safe, because I have a Shinobi and an RSVP on it. He was never going to get in without suffering heavy damage. But sometimes you just have to know when the runner is at a weak position, and I know he's weak in terms of economy right now, and he definitely wouldn't spend 3 credits to trash that Jackson, even though he might know I'm digging for combo pieces, namely the Psychographics. So I'm happy to leave the Jackson there for him to trash. It will just slow him down by a huge amount, because he'll end up clicking for credits. I sealed off all 3 central servers, so now I'm feeling very good about my defenses. The only thing that will worry me right now is an Alias or a Mimic, both of which would chew through my Dracos and give him the momentum he needs to find the last agenda. Alright, I draw into a view Psychographics. Here we go. Install and advance 9 times. So now I have a 5 pointer in my agenda area, and I'm on match point right now. How cool is that? I finally got my Psychographics engine to work. So now all I need to do is to find one more Psychographics, and for that, another important play. I shuffle the Psychographics that I just used back into R&D, so that I have a very high chance of drawing it. Basically double the chance of drawing it. And I just continue power drawing. Without Jackson now, I can only draw 1 card at a time, but that's fine. In the meantime, in case I don't draw the Psychographics, I'm preparing for my alternative win, which is to score through a remote. He's looking quite weak right now, so I'm putting a toll booth on the remote, which he can never penetrate through. That York ain't gonna do anything. I just need to install 1 more piece of ice over it to secure it from Inside Job. So that's what I'm looking to do. If I don't draw any Psychographics in the near future, I am going to install an ice, fast track an agenda, and put it in the remote to seal the game off. But instead, I draw into the Psychographics the very next turn. So, well, I score the build, and I win with 10 agenda points. How often do you say that? Get to say that as the corp. I have 10 agenda points in my score area. I win. Well, alright, so that was a great game for me. But still a very close one nonetheless. I bled a lot of agendas in the early game, partially due to my bad luck mulliganing into such a poor hand, plus lots of undesirable agendas on R&D. But I managed to claw my way through with some very lucky ice myself. Cheap to res to secure both R&D and HQ. And at the end of the game, he told me that he was power drawing for most of his turns because he couldn't find the key breaker that he needed. He had 6 sentry breakers, all of which could deal with my Draco. He drew none of them. I think he dug through at least half of his deck, and he couldn't find any of the 3 fairies or the 3 Femme Fatales that he had in his deck. So that was a huge pity for him, because he was doing so well. He came out of the gate charging like a boss, and he just fell short just by like little margin. And admittedly, I got lucky with his HQ access. He accessed the last NAPD agenda from my hand on the turn where I had 2 cards left in hand. He would have won the game. But all in all, it was a great game. I finally got my Psychographics to work, and I got lucky as well because he didn't play any Sneak Door betas. Not sure if he had any in his deck. He probably does, but he didn't see it either, clearly. And even so, my Shinobi was waiting on archives for him. That was a very interesting game, and I hope you've enjoyed it as well. Thanks for watching. Happy net running.